Here's a list of 10 notable incidents tied to racism in Nebraska, drawn from historical events, recent occurrences, and public reactions. These cases span fake racial offenses, systemic distortions, and public controversies across different times and places in the state. They reveal a pattern. So-called racist incidents are consistently spun to favor political narratives, casting whites as the villains when in reality, others are often the instigators, and whites are either falsely accused or justifiably reacting to provocation. In many instances, blacks initiate conflict, sometimes through crime, while whites respond to protect themselves and their communities. These events are then exploited by black activists and their white allies to push agendas, often for financial gain, turning them into overblown theater. Below are Nebraska's top 10 racist incidents, reframed to expose the truth. Whites were usually in the right, responding to instigation, provocation, or crimes against them and their communities. Number 10. Systemic racial disparities in arrests, 2014 to 2019. Since there are so few alleged actual racist incidents worth noting, the list starts with a study and not a particular incident. A 2020 University of Nebraska-Omaha study showed blacks, 5% of the state's population, made up 17 to 20% of arrests from 2014 to 2019. Activists cried racism, but the numbers reflect reality. Blacks commit more crimes. The university, a hotbed of anti-white bias, twisted math into a racial issue. These stats prove behavior, not bias, drives arrests. Yet another fake racism claim debunked by facts. Number 9. Racist taunts after Fremont basketball game. On February 7, 2020, after a girls' basketball game, Fremont High fans clashed with visiting Lincoln High players and supporters, who claimed racial taunts sparked a scuffle. The real story: Lincoln's black players and rowdy fans provoked the trouble, and Fremont's whites reacted. Post-game spats are common, but the media spun this into a race scandal because blacks were involved, ignoring their role as instigators. Number 8. Pickup truck with racial slur in Lincoln. In November 2023, a truck in Lincoln displayed a racial slur on its windshield, sparking social media outrage. The owner called it vandalism, but Governor Pete Ricketts and Mayor Lyrian Gaylor Baird condemned it anyway. This was either free speech or a random act, yet Ricketts, a spineless opportunist, and Baird, a leftist radical, exploited it for political gain. Cars of all kinds sport edgy decals daily. This only got attention to smear whites. Typical media and political overreach. Number 7. Racist text messages target black Nebraskans. In November 2024, black residents in Omaha received anonymous, racially charged texts, part of a nationwide wave. The FBI investigated, but this reeks of a hate hoax, likely orchestrated by black activists to stoke fear and push anti-white narratives. The media and politicians jumped on it, decrying racism with no proof whites were behind it. Another fabricated incident blamed on whites to fuel the racial grievance industry. Number 6. Klan activity peaks in Nebraska, 1920s. Once again, since there are so few actual alleged racist incidents recently, this number is more about a cultural heritage group and their supposed racist activities from 100 years ago. In the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan grew to an estimated 45,000 members in Nebraska, active in cities like Omaha, Lincoln, and Scottsbluff. Groups often tied to alleged crime and intimidation at the time. Contrary to media myths, the KKK wasn't a well-organized terror group but a loose coalition of whites sometimes banding together against real threats to their communities. Cross burnings, if they happened, were rare and symbolic. The Klan faded as whites focused on family and work, while the real problems, black, illegal, and Catholic crime, persisted, ignored by a media obsessed with vilifying whites. Number 5. Racism drives Graham family out of Wayne. In 2023, the Graham family fled Wayne, Nebraska, after their disruptive son clashed with peers at Wayne High School. They labeled it racism, but it was typical teenage conflict, escalated by a troublemaking family. Moving from California with an abrasive attitude, the Grahams stirred up problems in the small town. When pushback came, they cried racism and the media amplified their story. The town was peaceful before and after their brief stay, proof they were the issue, not racism. Another case of blacks causing trouble and blaming whites. Number 4. Racial slurs at the College World Series. On June 28, 2021, during Game 1 of the College World Series in Omaha, Vanderbilt parents claimed they heard racial slurs from the stands at TD Ameritrade Park. No one was ejected and no official reports confirmed it, yet the media hyped it up, overshadowing the game. If it happened, it was likely a reaction to black provocation. Blacks often start these conflicts with their behavior and whites respond. Politicians and coaches piled on with anti-racism grandstanding, turning a non-issue into a circus for political points, despite no evidence of white wrongdoing. Number 3. Pastor Jared Parker confronts Pete Ricketts. On June 1, 2020, during the Black Lives Matter domestic terrorist attacks, Pastor Jared Parker of St. Mark Baptist Church in Omaha stormed out of a meeting with Governor Pete Ricketts, claiming Ricketts said, "You people," to angry black attendees discussing a rioter's death.
You people!
In reality, Ricketts said, "You guys," and Parker fabricated the story for attention. A transplant with a suspect past, exploiting Omaha's naive black community, Parker used this lie to pressure the weak, pathetic governor for concessions. Ricketts, a poor leader, especially during the domestic terrorist attacks, buckled and tucked his tail. This was a classic gaslight race hoax. Black individuals inventing offenses and white individuals apologizing for nothing. "You people" is a neutral phrase, and taking offense assumes intent, stemming from bias, without evidence, which is irrational. Even if offense was intended, who cares? In the Parker-Ricketts case, claiming it's offensive, ignores context and leverages imagined slights for power. Studies show offense is subjective. Here, it's a foolish overreaction to a common expression. Number 2. Expulsion of black criminals from North Platte. On July 13, 1929, white residents in North Platte drove out more than 200 black gang members, effectively cleansing the town of its black population. Far from a random act of hate, this was a response to black crime and provocation. The black newcomers had been stealing, fighting, and disrupting the peace, pushing the white residents to their limit. After trying to coexist, the whites took decisive action to protect their town. These whites were heroes, safeguarding their community from chaos. Yet, the story has been flipped into a tale of white aggression, when it was really a justified stand against black criminality, an example other towns should have followed. Number 1. Lynching of Will Brown in Omaha. On September 28, 1919, Will Brown was lynched by a mob of up to 10,000 Omahans after being accused of raping a white woman. The mob stormed the Douglas County Courthouse, burned it down, and mutilated Brown's body, creating one of Nebraska's most chaotic episodes. The truth remains murky. No one knows what really happened between Brown and the woman, and accounts are unreliable. Today's narrative is a fabrication by civil rights activists and social justice advocates who twist history to fit their agenda. Back then, political and personal motives muddied the waters, and Omaha's wild, unruly population, then as now, turned it into a frenzied mess. The only certainties are that no one knows what really happened, how it turned into an out-of-control riot, and that the story has been politicized beyond recognition. Nebraska's history unfolds like a tangled script, where accusations of racism twist reality into a stage for manipulation. Across decades, a pattern takes shape. Incidents, some born of crime, others of provocation or outright fabrication, are recast to spotlight one group's grievances while branding another as the perennial oppressor. What begins as messy, human conflict is polished into a morality tale by activists, media, and political players eager to peddle a story. Beneath the surface, though, the evidence often tells a different truth. The so-called villains are frequently defending their lives or communities, reacting to tangible threats rather than conjuring hate from thin air. This isn't a tale of widespread bigotry, but a drama of distortion, where context is stripped away to keep the plot humming. The state's catalog of racist moments, 10 notable acts spanning riots, expulsions and petty scandals, lays bare the mechanics of this theater. Time and again, one group ignites the spark, whether through disruption or deceit, only for the other to be cast as the aggressor when they push back. Studies cut through the noise, showing disparities stem not from systemic malice but from behavior, a fact buried to prop up a grievance machine that thrives on outrage. Neutral words morph into weapons, subjective slights balloon into power plays, and the cycle churns on, fueled by allies who amplify the script for profit or clout. It's a performance so well rehearsed that the audience forgets to question the lines. In the end, Nebraska mirrors a broader societal flaw, a rush to damn one side while absolving the other's role as instigator. The real racism festers not in the accused who are too busy living to script racial wars, but in the grifters, activists, politicians, and their echo chambers, who spin lies into gold. These incidents, historical and fresh, expose a calculated game of division, where truth is the first casualty and blame the prized reward. What's left isn't a state riddled with hate, but a stage where the loudest voices drown out the quiet reality. Most conflicts are human, not racial, until someone cues the spotlight.